Hey guys, welcome back to episode 6 of our Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today we are going to look at basic UI and levels. So far we have this example world that we've been messing around and editing to our liking. And today what we're going to do is we are going to take a step back and we are going to create another level for the main menu. And we're going to go through a few blueprints that are going to tie things together. So first thing to do is you might be in the first person folder, click out to content. Now I want you to right click and we're going to create a new folder and we're going to call this main menu. Go into that folder, right click and create a new level. For naming conventions, I'm going to call this L underscore main menu. Once you've created that, hit enter. Now the world might go completely black, but that's okay. There we have put nothing into the level. So there's no lights, there's no nothing. You can also have a little look over here. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to right click and select blueprint class. And what we are going to set up is first off a new game mode. And I'm going to call this GM underscore main menu. Once we've created the game mode main menu, we're going to right click, another blueprint class, and let's pick player controller. We're going to call this PC underscore main menu. PC meaning for main menu. PC meaning for player controller. Oops. Now from here, now that we have created this, we're just going to do a little bit of wiring just to check that things are up and running. Let's just go to a print string and we're going to print string hello. Next, what I want to do is click into the game mode main menu. And if we go over to class defaults, we are going to select from player controller, main menu, get rid of the default pawn class here. Compile, save. And one other thing that we're going to have to do is in the world settings, change the game mode override to game mode main menu. I'm just going to hit save. Now, when we hit play, we should get the hello. Now that means that we are accessing the player controller for the main menu. Now, let's double click into player control main menu. And the first thing that we are going to want to do is we are going to be having a few buttons on the screen. And we're going to want to be able to click those buttons. So in order to be able to click those buttons, we're going to need to set show mouse cursor. Set show mouse cursor. You may need to take off context sensitive. And just set this to true. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to be creating a new UI or a new widget. Let's drag out of here and go create widget. Now, we haven't created the widget just yet, so let's do that. I'm going to right click here, create new user interface widget. Now, we'll just click into here, and I like to call my UIs UI, and I'll call this UI main menu. If you don't already have something underneath the name of your UI here, then what we are going to do is go to the search palette, and we're going to select canvas panel. Now I won't go into too much detail in this video about a lot of the little elements that you can include into this. We're going to keep it nice and simple. For the moment, what we are going to do is we are going to add a horizontal box we can type horizontal box. Now, the other thing that we are going to do is come to anchors, and this will say from where are we going to start the box. Let's just click this one here, this full square, and change the offset right and bottom to 0. Brilliant. Next thing that we are going to do is get rid of that. Let's add a border, and let's add a vertical box into that border. So what I'm doing is I'm actually dragging the element onto the other element. Now, the horizontal box will fill the entire screen, but we want to do the same thing with the border. So I'm going to hit fill, and look at that, it's gone white all across the board. And we're going to do the same with the elements that are going to go into the vertical box. Now, just to tidy this up, let's actually go back here and let's grab a spacer and let's drag it into the horizontal box. I'm just going to minimize the border, and I'm going to drag the spacer before the border, and I'm going to go fill. Now, spacers are great when you're using fill because what you can do is you can set ratios. So the spacer has a ratio size of 1, and the border has one for 1 as well. But if we want the, let's say, the spacer to be bigger, what we can actually do is we can go to 2. So if you can imagine that 2 plus 1 is 3, the spacer takes up 2/3, the border takes up 1. Now, the nice thing about borders is that they are elements that you can, let's say, design. You can put a picture on them. What we are going to actually do, if I click into border, is we are going into brush color. I'm going to take this down. I'm going to make it into a gray. I'm probably going to go 0.03 for red, green, blue. So it'll be a dark gray, and I'm going to make the alpha 0.1. So it should be pretty much invisible. Now, next thing that we are going to do is I am going to add a few buttons. I'm going to add a button, and then on top of that button, let's find a text. Drag the text on top of the button. Now go to click on the button and click fill. Now that's very big, but we're going to have a few buttons. I'm going to click on the button, copy it with Control C, click on vertical box, and I'm going to paste it. Let's paste it 4 times. And what we can actually do, because all buttons are the same, you can click on each button and then hit hold Control I should say, and click on it. Let's come over to padding, and let's add some padding. I'm going to add padding of 20. Make it look a little bit nicer. One little thing just to tie this up, maybe we'll add some space to the top with spacers. So I'm going to drag that into the vertical box, not onto the button. And do the same for there. And I'm just going to go and click fill for those 2. Maybe we can take that down actually to 0.5. Now, you can design this however way you want. What I personally would recommend for your own game is that you open up paint.net or Paint, whatever you want to use, design your own. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to just do a little bit of tidy up. I'm going to click onto this text box here, and I'm going to come to the content text. Now the first one I'm going to call wave, and I might just copy wave and come up to the button here, whatever button it's called, and I'm going to type btn_wave, just so I know what button it is. Otherwise, when we are working with the buttons later on, they're going to be button underscore 2, button underscore 1. It doesn't really make too much sense for us. The other one I'm going to do is go down to the last button that we made, and I'm going to change the text to quit. And I'm going to come up to the button and I'm going to say btn underscore quit. Now, that all looks wonderful. I'm going to hit compile save. Now, let us go to back to our PC main menu, and let's select in the class the UI main menu. Now, compile save, we'll get rid of that error. Now, the last thing that we actually need to do is, once we've created that widget, we actually need to say that we want to put it onto the screen. So let's drag out of the blue, and we can go add to viewport. Now, when we compile save, come back out of here, hit play, and there we go. We have our basic main menu there on the screen. Now, these don't do anything at the moment. What we are going to do in this video is set up the wave and quit. So let's just go into our UI main menu again. We're going to go onto our graph. Now, in our variables here, find where it says button quit, and we are going to click on the arrow for onClicked, drag off, and type in quit game. Really, really simple. I'm going to compile save just to make it nice. And button wave, same thing, unclicked. Now, for this one, we are going to drag out, and we're actually going to say open level. Now, for this example, we're going to go open level by object reference. And what this will let us do is click here to select what level we want us to open. So for the demo level that we've been using, it is the first person map. We can go back and rename it, which I would highly recommend you do. Come back out, and let's just test them out. So if I hit quit, and it kicks us back out, I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to click wave. And look, it's our game. Ooh, there's our zombies. Great. Our game is playing nicely. Something I should also address is if we go back into our first person, go into our blueprints, we have been putting a lot of the control for our character into the character itself. So what we are going to do is we are going to create our new player controller for our actual game. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go blueprint class, and I'm going to create a new player controller. I'm going to call this PC underscore, and I'm going to call this game. So when we're actually playing the game, we're going to be in the player controller game. And we're in the main menu, we will use the player controller for the main menu. Now, all we are going to do is we are going to add a new input, keyboard input, keyboard event, and I am going to select P and drag out, and I'm going to open level by object reference, and I'm going to select the main menu, hit compile, hit save. Now, one last thing that we are going to do is go into the BP first person game mode. Just going to click into this, and I am going to change the player controller to player controller game. I compile, save. Now that we have created the player controller for the game, we have changed the player controller that we are going to be using for the main game. I'm going to hit play, go into wave, and hit P, and it's going to jump us back into the main menu. Brilliant. Hi guys, before I go, I just wanted to show you this. A friend of mine who watches the videos before I put them live asked if I could just run through what the game mode does, what the player controller does, and why do we put certain things in the player controller rather than the actual characters themselves, and why do we put certain things into the character and not the player controller. So before we get ahead into actually, let's say, the controls, the game mode. So the game mode holds a bunch of information about the, let's say, the level that you're about to go into. So it can hold information about what character or what pawn you're going to be set up with is number one. Number two, what it's going to be doing is holding specific game information. So it could be that you are going to be playing a multiplayer game. How many players are going to be allowed join? Things like that. I also written there, it holds connection information about those players as well if it is multiplayer. Other things that it could do is, what type of actual game mode is it? Is it a team deathmatch? You can select these things in the game mode. Now, you might not want to select them into, let's say, the player controller, because the player controller holds information specific to the actual player. So you might want to have a team deathmatch mode and a capture the flag mode, but then use the regular player controller, let's say for your shooting game, across all of those modes. Now, if we look at the player controller versus the character itself, if you're playing a game like, let's say, Grand Theft Auto, if you press the start button, that's going to be the pause button for if you are walking around or if you're driving a car. Whereas if you are moving as a pedestrian or a walking character, whatever that you want to call it, in Grand Theft Auto, that will have a completely different movement system to driving or flying or sailing a boat, whatever you want to have it. The player controller can also hold information, let's say, like the player score or the money in the game, or let's say the inventory. Whereas, why would, let's say, the pedestrian character hold that information? Because your score is going to be the same if you're driving a car or not driving a car. So hopefully that breakdown makes things a little bit clearer as to where you're going to put all your events and where you're going to hold information. Hopefully this helps. If there is something, leave a little comment down below though. And guys, that's it for this episode. Nice, quick and short. For the next episode, we're going to look into the UIs again, but we are actually going to be looking at the UI for the player specifically. So when you're playing the game, we're going to do a few things. Number one, we are going to show how many bullets the player has in his gun. Number two is we are going to show the reload bar, so the progress of the reload bar. And maybe number three, what we will do is we will show the wave number that the player is on. Till then, guys, stay safe, stay sound, stay awesome, and I'll catch you in the next one. Talk to you soon.